Welcome. I'm going to introduce you to Erin Bayne shortly. This is the Alberta Council of Technology's session number 37, brought to you from the Analytics Big Data in the Cloud Conference. So welcome, Erin, and delighted to meet you.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So we got to a little bit of a chat about birds, fascinating enough. That sort of caught me off guard. Tell me a little bit about yourself and how you got interested in such a, well, bizarre topic.
Well, as a kid, actually, I lived in Saskatchewan and had a farm. And I mean, to be honest, what really got me into birds was one day I was sitting out playing on my motorbike, and I heard a bird sounding what I thought was two different species singing in the shoulder belt. And I went over, and sure enough, it was actually one species called a brown thrasher, which is actually called a mimic, and actually makes different sounds and can imitate different birds. And that's actually can be really quite creative in terms of what it does. And so that kind of got me very interested in birds and ecology in general.
So you were attuned to your environment. All of a sudden, birds catch your eye, and your whole career. When you talk about transformation, or that moment in the life cycle made a difference in terms of your career.
I think it brought me back. I mean, to be honest, as got into high school and things like that, and I mean, those kind of things that as a kid maybe kind of disappeared in high school, and thought about making money and stuff. Got to university, tried engineering, and realized that was not what I wanted to do. Met a very inspirational teacher in ecology early in my undergrad career, and that sort of changed my path because I realized there was an occupation I could do that was outside. And could get me back to the thing that I, as a kid, thought was really, really amazing.
It sounds like you were receptive. I mean, you kept an open mind.
For sure.
You're an observer of yourself and of your environment.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm actually a supervisor at the university for undergrads, trying to help them design their program and things. And it's amazing. There's kind of two kinds of kids that come in: those who don't have a clue what they want to do, and those who think they know exactly what they want to do. And I actually kind of work with both of them and try to convince them. We'll try to get a little bit of direction right off, but don't decide today. Right? That's what you've got a couple of years to figure out. And in fact, I encourage students to take pretty broad spectrum of courses in the first couple of years because they don't really know what's available to them to even consider. Right?
So it's fascinating with the exposure I've had through consulting and government and academia to that question: what do I want to be when I grow up? It seems to be one of those profound moments in a young person's life, in the belief that that decision has to be made and in fact can be made. And you're saying they should be a little bit cautious because maybe you never do grow up, point one. And maybe the environment, whether it be birds or motorcycles or a good teacher, there's something in the course of that journey that might just trigger a whole different career.
Well, I think so. I mean, I think we put a lot of expectations on ourselves that, at 18 or 19, you can set out a career path. And I think, unfortunately, that's kind of the way we're almost treating it, is you should know what you want to do, and we'll get you done in 2 years, and then you can go off and do that as an occupation. But yet every job that people have these days, there's very few that you stay in one career forever and you're doing one thing. So to me, it's getting a breadth to see what's available and to at least get you started in going the direction that you might want to learn something more about. Because learning, frankly, at the university gets you started, but it's an individual process. You learn on your own.
What's intriguing here is in talking with young people, and when I was with KPMG, they had a career development series that they would run in the summer. For executives. It was a marketing ploy on our part, but we'd get a lot of exposure to young kids, and you'd bring them together, and on the Friday afternoon when we would commence, you'd get into a discussion about career. The kids sat there quiet. They'd hardly say a thing. They wouldn't get engaged or participate. And the second day, they began to express their fear, that they really didn't know where they were going. And the third day, they were wide open, they were networking, they were engaging, they were learning from one another, as if somehow exposing that I'm afraid is a sign of weakness, as opposed to the beginning of an opening where let's just start sharing information so we can learn out of it.
Right.
So do you get that type of exposure of young people coming in a little uncertain?
Oh, a lot. I get like I said, there's a lot of the students that I would deal with, they just don't know, right? And it's like they want to make the right choice, not realizing that everything they do is part of the learning process.
And I'm sure and uncertain, am I making the right choice for me or for my parents or for who's paying my way or for the government? Or,
Yeah, and exactly, and that's all of it. I mean, that's what a university education is about in a lot of ways. It's not about teaching. I mean, yes, there are exceptions. Being a doctor has a series of things you have to learn, and perhaps a certain type of engineer, and if that's what you choose to do, great. But a lot of university is also about learning how to learn so that you can adapt over your career to become good at something else or try something.
Were you always the smartest in your class?
I did well. I did very well in high school, and then first year university, I got a real rude awakening that maybe I wasn't quite as smart as I thought I was.
So is being really smart what leads you to becoming a postdoc? Because you're a postdoc at the...
Oh, actually, I'm a professor now.
a professor?
Yes, I was actually. No, that's
a little
good.
more humble here.
No, I was a postdoc. It's not. I mean, there are certain people that they are brilliant, and and they will develop. There's other people in the university who they get through this there through hard work and collaboration and building on an idea and building a whole career from a series of ideas that develop. So no, I mean the university, the really good professors, some of them are the brilliant Einstein types, but university is also about teaching. It's about interacting with others, and so there's a whole series of skill sets that have to come to bear when you are a professor or something like that.
I was standing at a window overlooking a campus in the northeast U.S. when I was a high school student looking for what college I might want to go to. And there was a moment, and it was a moment in my life, where an older gentleman standing next to me said, you're interested in going to school here at Dartmouth, are you? And I said, yeah. He said, you're only going to get out of it what you put into it.
Well, that's exactly, that is what university is. I mean, and there's more to it than just studying. I mean, there's the opportunities that there are volunteer positions, there are, jobs, there are research projects, there are all kinds of opportunities.
It's a community in itself.
Exactly. And I mean, and students that seize upon that community aspect of the university, I think they do much better than those who come and I'm going through this path and I'm going to get these classes done and I'm going to get A+s and that's all that they get out of it.
So taking and observing the life experience, not just the imparting of knowledge. I got a phrase, knowledge without relationships has no value. Yeah. That if all you've got is knowledge and you've got that little sliver that the brown thrush like nobody else does. I mean, do you really have a life? And two, is that what you're going to sell when it comes time to conveying yourself to society as what my value is to you?
Right.
Or if brown thrushes are my future, then I maybe am doing that for me, but my career options are going to be limited around that piece.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I think the key thing is, life experience is teaching is also about life experience. I mean, many of my courses that I teach at the university are just about that. They're not about imparting knowledge, they're about doing a project, actually getting involved in a conservation-oriented thing, doing something, right?
Let's dive into the theme of this conference, because now I've got a little bit of a sense of you and career management. How's analytics found its way into your life, and what is its relevance?
Sure. Well, what's happened over the last for me is, I as an individual, I do research projects, and I might do one project, and I'll answer a question, and that might be about the way a human activity influences birds or some natural variation in the environment. But I am at a point right now where I'm trying to influence the way that we do things in Alberta and in Canada in terms of our environmental policy. So, and that means, what land uses are we going to allow, how are we going to deal with climate change and things like that. And so to answer those kind of questions, we need to think much bigger about the kind of data that we're dealing with. So I've been working trying to integrate, my research with other researchers, with monitoring data sets, with company data sets, and actually trying to bring together historical information in a way that's never been put together before.
So is it easy to get people to share data, to bring it
It's
across the
getting
board?
easier and easier and easier. I think there's just a recognition of that big data is important and it has value.
Yeah.
There's a lot of sensitivities and relationships that have to be built before this can happen. But if you can build that trust, people are willing to, put stuff together. And I mean, as an example, one of the data sets we've put together now allows us to make models for all of Canada for birds. And that was unprecedented.
Yeah.
And it's simply because of collaboration among people. And then it's a question of how do you manage that kind of data? What do you relate it to? How do you build new information out of it that people can use for better decision making?
Well, it certainly doesn't seem like you're alone in this endeavor to appreciate the relevance of data, the value of data, and the challenges to get human beings to share it. And they do come along. I note that in the letter we have to launch the analytics conference, the Prime Minister of Canada and the President of the United States, both are aligned with saying open data, it's not just an economic, it's a social policy. So it sounds like you're one of the soldiers of change.
We're working on it. Yeah, I mean, I think there are silos, academic silos. You got to get the paper published. Companies who they do it because they have to do it in government policy. But I think those things are shifting, and I think that's kind of the next wave. And I mean, I'm increasingly with birds. My interest as a kid came from I saw something. Well, that kind of interest, actually. We're getting to a state where citizens can add that data that they get, those kind of observations, into these kind of systems, and hopefully make even better decisions that people are actually interested in and informed about and can be part of the dialogue.
Well, it sounds like while you're within a university, and many of us see that as an isolated environment, that you're in reality a big part of the world. I mean, you are engaged in doing meaningful things that are relevant to Canada and beyond, and data has become sort of the lubricant of your life and a lubricant to help build a better Canada, a better community, and a more enriched one. So with all that having been said, thank you to sharing
Great.
a little bit
Thank you.
with me of your values, of your relevance to students, and to society at large with your usage of data as a tool. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Join the conversation next year as more cities become data-driven. Become a community partner. Contact us at info@abctech.ca.